Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the We're So Young podcast. Today we have Luckner Bruno, or as I know him, Lucky. He is an actor, a singer, a dancer, an aerialist, a multi-human god. Who are you, Lucky?
I just like to live in the biggest way possible. In addition to doing aerial, I teach aerial. I'm also a martial artist. I love cooking. I love.
You are a good cook.
Yes, I like cooking a lot, and those in the Miami community know of my cheesecakes. So I sing, I dance, I choreograph, I write, I produce shows. I have a children's book, The Legend of the Pink Elephant, which bears the same name of the circus musical theater spectacle show that has had 3 very successful runs and still trying to get it out to the rest of the world because it has a beautiful message about not just tolerating difference. When you tolerate something, you put up with it. When you embrace something, you learn from it. You learn things you didn't know. You learn new aspects of being able to look at things. Mm-hmm. And that's the message of the show.
Yeah.
So kind of like me, just live as big as possible.
Well, we'll get back to the Legend of the Pink Elephant, but let's start from the beginning. Let's start. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Miami Shores.
Oh, right where we're recording right now.
One of the natives. I was born at Mount Sinai Hospital, which is right there on Miami Beach. My dad's from Haiti. My mother's from South Carolina. I'm a genetic Creole. And I grew up a few blocks away from here. Went to University of Miami. And then from there discovered the wonderful bug of the stage. And I travel, but this is home.
So when you say you discovered the world of the stage, how did that come about? Was that through UM? Was that in school?
That was
that
way
after?
before. I was performing on stages since the age of 7. I was with a singing group called the Children of the World, and it was led by a woman who's passed a long time ago, but a beautiful Cuban lady by the name of Naomi, who got all of these kids together, like 30 kids from all over the greater Miami area, and we did concerts, we did all these other different things. We made it all the way to the White House. We performed at the National Prayer Breakfast for Reagan. I know, I was a kid. But we performed at the National Prayer Breakfast, and that was my first viewing of seeing so many people wanting to share a moment with you, and you're giving them that moment.
Yeah.
And from there on, that was like I need to do this. I need to look at this for real, because it was there's nothing else like being able to be in a room of strangers that then become forever friends, because believe it or not, they never forget the moment.
Yeah, that's true. You know, I went to a show recently, and the director gave a show speech, and he was like, right now everyone in this room is making history, because you will never be in the same room watching the same performance ever again, and this is history that you're being a part of. So it is a really interesting thing to think about. So you started singing. How did you do a crossover?
The singing was all these kids from different backgrounds, all of our different ethnic backgrounds. We all come from like second or first generation families, and where there's an immigrant parent or both. And we would dress up in our native costuming, and we would go around singing these songs about being together and we are all one. It was around the time of the We Are the World explosion that happened. Yes, it's the 80s. Deal. And it just caught a wonderful wave. And then from there, like I had my Haitian flag kind of get up on that was red and blue with denim pants and like these leather cowboy boots that were like really of the country. My dad was adamant about that. He grew up in the mountains of Pichonville. And we did it. Me and my sisters, we were there in the chorus, and we were representing, and we were able to get our first taste of being not the only ones that looked like us, but you're put into a situation in where there's so many different people around you at a young age, and you learn very quick how to just sit back and listen and learn and watch, and then, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Oh, that's tasty. Your mom, what did she cook today? I've never heard of that before. That's really tasty. That's the first time I had a pastelito. I love pastelitos. They are just heaven in the morning with coffee.
Oh, they're the best.
Mm-hmm.
They're the best. Yeah, I mean, that's such a cool thing about Miami in general. It's so just culturally different. But you brought up sisters.
Yes, I have 6 sisters and a brother. I come from a large family.
Large and they're all superhuman, everybody. They're all superhuman.
Yeah. I have one sister that is a singer, poetess, choreographer, director, writer, and she's pregnant with twins now. I have another sister that is up and coming. She's 11, but she can captivate an audience all on her own, no matter how big the house. She's a phenomenal dancer. Like, just, wow.
Yeah, she can also manipulate Diana to go up and down silks like 80,000 times.
That's because you were challenging a 5-year-old at the time, and that's on you.
Oh, man. She made me better.
That's all you're gonna do?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, how did you get into aerial and silks and circus? So we went from singing to how did that? What were those steps? I know that at one point you were a pirate like I was.
Yes,
living
but
on
real
ships.
pirate.
Yeah, you were.
Mm-hmm. Tall ship that we all had to learn how to sail and navigate because we were the crew as well as the cast.
Oh, I mean, I was crew, but I was like floofy, fancy crew. I was.
Girl, you ain't never had to pull a line.
Nope,
You ain't never had to steer a ship. You
Nope.
never had to go into a chart house and do that math that you promised yourself. I'll never have to fucking do this. Distance over time equals speed. Girl, that's what I had to do for an hour every day.
No.
And if you mess up, the ship runs aground. That's everyone's ass.
Oh no!
But-
I had to do the drills. That's it. I know. I live a vacation life.
But that's an interesting story. So the very first gig that I got out of university was a touring children's show with Fantasy Theater Factory.
Okay.
And the 2 directors, the founders of the companies, are 2 Ringling clowns. So they're my circus parents, as I call them. Ed taught me
The ones
how
from Fantasy?
Fantasy Theater
Oh,
Factory.
I didn't know that.
Yes. So Ed gave me my first circus bite by teaching me stilts. And because I was a dancer at the time, I was able to manipulate the stilts unlike other people that stand and wave, not like knocking anybody, but you have different talents, you have different abilities, and you work with them with different ways.
I mean, you from what I know of you, you're very comfortable in your own body. You just know how to place your balance and stuff. So that makes total sense.
Thanks to dance. But with that bit of circus bite, I saw an advertisement that was sent to me by Raquel Almazan. Those of you might know her out there in the theater community. She is La Lucha Art. She's amazing. She's phenomenal. But she sent me an advertisement for a show that was looking for actors with some circus ability. And at the time, I knew stilt walking. I sent in a video. I get there. They cast me. Lo and behold, you think, oh, we're going to stay at that nice Hilton next to this pirate ship that's docked next to the water. No, you stay on the boat. You live on the boat. You steer that boat. It's a 91-foot sailing vessel called the Amarazi that we all had to get very comfy with. But that is after about 2.5 weeks of putting the show together. And then you leave. And then while you're sailing, you discover, oh no, you're responsible to do this. You're on a 4 to 8 watch, which means for 4 hours, you're working the boat, and for 8 hours, you're off. So for 4 hours, you're like, oh shit. And then 8 hours, you're like, I need a nap.
Right.
Oh my God, it's every day there's something to make you more tired than you thought you were, because when you pull into a city, you take out all of the lights, which is something like 200 different lights. You hang the lights off the ship and also on the shore. There are about...
Wait. So how would you pitch a tent and do the show, or would you go into a venue?
We were the venue. We would pull up on a dock and turn a dock into a theater.
Yo, that's so cool.
Yeah, and it's still going. If you look up Caravan stage right now, you'll see where the Amarazi is. I believe they're somewhere in the Grecian Isles with their latest show.
That's so cool.
Yes, it's really cool in your 20s when you can be okay with sharing whatever money you make with 18 other people. But when you get older, you want things like a solid roof over your head, paying your bills on time, and you
Right.
accept other things. But I have to say, by and large, that changed my life. I would never say no to doing it again. It was as magical as it sounds like, because you start off as a normal performer and you leave a real pirate, because there's no thing
Yeah.
as an expert. You have learned so many things in addition to circus. Like, if you give me a chart right now, where do you want to go on the water? Like, I can still do that.
That's amazing. And also just like so where did you travel to? Did you stay in like the
We
Caribbean?
started
or-
in Jacksonville. We went up the eastern seaboard, through the Great Lakes, and down the Mississippi on our first tour. So I got to see how beautiful America was in the slowest but most gorgeous way possible.
Yeah. Man, it's such a, people don't realize how awesome it is to travel on a ship. You
Yes.
know, like it's just like,
Because you're just slow enough to be able to be like, perspective, wait.
yeah. And also there's something so nice about being so disconnected. Like there's something so nice about being like, well, I don't really have the outside world feeding me these things. So like when I was on the ship, it's so hard to watch the news right now, and the last couple years, the last 3 or 4 years have been just one thing after another when it comes to like news and stuff. And
Every day is a new nightmare and a deeper abyss that we didn't think we could get to.
Exactly. And it was so nice when I lived on board, because it was just like, well,
I have no Wi-Fi. I guess
don't
I'm,
it sucks that like that's the way you have to think about it sometimes, but it's just like my mental health was so much better just not being so infiltrated by all of these outside sources. It was just like living, it was so present living, So that's
very present now. I am here. I can't think of future worries. I can't think of past bullshit. Like,
Right.
You're here on the boat. Where are we going now?
Yeah. So okay, so how long were you on that boat?
The first tour was for 7 months. The second tour, we toured around all of the wetland areas of Louisiana, and this was just before Hurricane Maria. Or was it Wilma? Wilma was us. The one that messed up Louisiana really bad. That was
Was it Maria?
Katrina. Yeah, Katrina. Thank you, Katrina. Yeah. So it's like we were doing this show at the time, and we were going everywhere talking about how the Barataria is eroding. The Barataria is the land of like marshland and stuff in between the estuaries and their mainland. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about how they were eroding, about how big businesses come in and like done this thing with their levees that have made them weak. The fracking is also a destabilized thing. And then Katrina happened like a year after we closed that show. And I just watched it on the news like, we were just talking about that. Wow.
What did you do after that?
After that, I came back home to Miami and went full on into the nightlife. Like all the different clubs and stuff. This was in between the early to mid 90s, early 2000s. So there weren't too many circus performers there. There weren't cabaret people that like, it was a few people that you can count on two hands that were doing it. And I was with...
Which is not the case anymore.
No, now
there's
there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's true. You get what you pay for. There are a lot of Hora Loca companies, which are the companies that'll come to your quinceañera or your wedding and do like a quick little song and dance with a drummer and a two-step wave stilt performer. Like it's... The market is saturated, but by and large, the ones that stand out because of, if not technique, execution, experience, theatrical presentation. Like the ones that stand out because they've been here doing it the longest.
Right. So you
We're
got...
also not the cheaper ones, which creates another thing.
Yeah, but I mean, it really is, you get what you pay for, you know what I mean? And especially when you're dealing with people's time.
Yes.
You know, I think that that's a big thing when it comes to the arts industry. It's just like, yeah, you know, you want something to be good, then pay people so that they can take it seriously, because this is our livelihood.
Exactly. Like, I can't tell you how many gigs that will call you and want a quote and want the best photos and want to know what you look like and know all these other different things, and they want it huge and grandiose, and the thing that comes out of their mouth is, well, can you give us a deal? Can you help us out? You know, what about if we could do it for like this deal and where we help you out with publicity? And then I've been here long enough. People know who I am. You need to pay me because I'm bringing you all those things and more. But out of every profession, I can't think of any other profession that while you're doing business, people want to always underdime you or ask if you can cut a deal or, hey, can you help us out? Like,
Yeah.
no.
And it's your time, you know? And I just think people don't even realize, like, it's not just your time. It's like your physical time.
It's all of your time, because it's the time that you need to spend in your dance classes to keep up your expertise. It's the time in your aerial classes to keep all of that together, because you stop doing aerial for a week and everything that you are going to do on the stage is affected seriously. Just like with singing, you stop singing for a while, you get dusty. So it's the time that it is to maintain the instrument. It's the time to get the instrument and the performer over there to prepare it for the production, do all of that stuff. And now...
And it's physically so exhausting.
It is.
You know? Talking from someone who doesn't do aerial as much as you do, but did it for, like... You know,
but you do like any artist knows what it is now to have to do your own hustle, especially now, because you have to be your own marketing campaign. You have to be your own creator, your own producer, your own, like, everything.
Yeah, I was listening to a different podcast the other day, and they were talking about how it's just like, you know, people used to say you need to be a triple threat, music, like a singer, actor, dancer, but now it's just more than that. You have to be your own producer, and that takes work, and that takes discipline, and that takes networking
and time.
Yeah, so it's like, if I'm gonna give you my time, like, pay for it, you know, pay for it and value it. And like you said, you've been doing this for so long that it's just like, you know, I get when people first go out and try to do something new, you have to obviously be aware of how much you're, you know,
paying your dues.
Yeah, paying your dues. But once you hit a certain level, and I don't even want to say level of expertise, but just like appreciation in your own worth as an artist, then at that point, like, you need to be a little bit more picky on what jobs you choose, if they're going to be really beneficial to your, like, your own time and your mental health and your physical health, because it is very draining physically to do what we do. And people just think it's a lot of fun, which it is. We're so lucky to be able to do a job that's fun and that requires a lot of positive energy, but it does expend a lot of energy as well.
A lot of energy.
So,
like me, I won't do an hora loca every week, like every other stilt walking person that I know. Like, I'm doing this. I'll wait for that large gig with the money that can pay the costume that I'm bringing, pay the amount of sweat it's going to take to be able to do a gig on 3-foot stilts while dancing full out for a number of hours outside in Miami heat, and still make it look like it's effortless, and still make it look beautiful and engage with the audience, and make those private little moments when you're doing that street performance action something. Make those little moments of, those unforgettable, now you are a stranger, now we are friends because we shared this. It's the same thing like being on a stage. It's just more intimate and quicker.
Right. So, in between doing aerial and martial arts and circus performing, you're also a theater actor. You also find the time somewhere along the lines to do that. How do you find that you manage your time to do everything? Because you are just always jumping from one place to another. You're also a teacher. You not only teach circus skills, but you also teach dance and you private coach and you do all these things. So how do you manage that?
When you live big and you care about what you want, you make time for that.
Yeah.
Like, I am also with Juggernaut Theater. We're doing Miami Motel Stories at the PAM on the 19th. I did 2 of their 3 installments in the city already. And that's amazing because it's storytelling of the people for the people of Miami. And to have 20-year-olds come and have that shared moment is beautiful because they're not used to engaging with people on a non-digital way, face-to-face, time to time.
Right. So you find the time to do that. What have you found that has been difficult for you in this journey of just being this performer and just having so many skills? Do you find that you've had a moment where you've just been like, I think I just have to focus on one, or would...
There are times, yes. Like, depending on what project you're doing, you're definitely going to have to lean on one more than the other.
Right.
So yeah, that definitely does happen. I find that when that happens, the discipline of what I had when I was learning my art then allows for me to shift from one focus to another while keeping that in the back of my head of like, oh, and now you can use that. But yeah, it is a thing of, you go over here, now I'm using this pencil.
Did you think of yourself as someone who was going to do this for the rest of their life when you were like in high school?
In high school,
or growing up in general?
Okay. I made a decision early on because like I started off high school, I did all my AP Science classes. I was going to start University of Miami, going ahead of the game with like my science and all these other different things. I was supposed to go on to be a doctor and make the big money and all that stuff. And then I asked myself the question of, can I do this and be happy? Like, will money make me happy or will this make me happy? And this made me more happy, like a lot more. And there are the moments in where like you worry about the finances because the arts isn't as consistent. There is that moment of, oh, maybe I should be doing something better. Maybe I should be doing something else, something more sustainable. And that's really your doubt messing with you. In addition to, like, one thing creates another problem. So it's like you look at your empty pocket and then you're like, well, other people my age have this and other people my age have that. And then you start to compare. And with the comparison comes the, well, maybe it's time to go.
Self-doubt.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's self-doubt. That's what it is. It always manages to happen around the same time every year. That up time in between the 2 weeks of when kids go to school and tourists come back to Miami. And it's just a lull of, there are no projects anywhere.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do? What should I do with my life next?
Yeah, I mean, it's that's the hardest part, I think, for me as an artist. And you know what? It's taken a really long time for me to call myself even just an artist. You know, I just would.
Really?
Yeah, because it's just who I am. Like, being an actor has been something I've done my entire life. You know what I mean? So I feel like artist is just like there's more weight to it, and I say it now and I accept it now, but I think I'm more into my skin now. But I think one of the toughest things about doing anything in the arts is I've struggled with this question a lot last year around this time because I kept on being asked, well, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What is your long-term goal? And I had a little breakdown because I was like, my long-term goal is to keep my short-term goal afloat. You know? And I'm okay with that at the moment. I mean, who knows? That might change. But it's just like, as performers, as artists, we are always taking new contracts. We are jumping from one place to another. Nothing is like, we don't necessarily have the luxury of being like, well, we got to be in a company for 25 years.
And my pension will be able to come in and take care of all these other different things.
Exactly. And it's like, if there's one thing that I've always been sure about, is this is what I want to do with my career. Aside from anything else in my life, like, this is my career and this is what I want. But yeah, being an artist, it's making or accepting that there are going to be those times where there's a lull, and just choosing to continue to do it.
Hallelujah. And yes, and that is exactly why I did the jump from theater to dance to circus to singing, and I'm always jumping in between those worlds, because I realize one pool's going to dry up at one time. They're not all going to dry up at that time. And in the meantime, I could be going here and stretching out. I could be going here and stretching into those endeavors. I could go over here. And then when all the stuff starts happening again and it's middle of November and you're overbooked because you said yes to everything, then you get that realization of, oh yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. That's right. I'm okay again.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's definitely a flux. It's definitely a fluctuation. And, and we're lucky to be people who are working, you are always working, I'm surprised.
I thank God. I feel very blessed. I know many people that graduated with me from my school that either don't do it at all anymore, or they'll see a stage once or twice a year.
Yeah, no, that's so scary, but it's the idea of just like believing in yourself and not self-doubting. And you brought something up about comparing yourself to other people. That
happens so much. And now with like social media, it is so hard to congratulate a friend, and you really feel really great for them. But then there's that little voice in the back of your head, well, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be there at all.
Yeah.
It should, because it's like, your path is your path. I couldn't walk your path.
Yeah.
I'm not you. I'm walking my path. My path is lovely, but because at this moment I'm feeling this and I'm looking here, I have that little doubt in the back of my head that is like, in the same way, you're shooting yourself down, because you're like,
exactly, because it's not gonna help to feel that way. And the worst part, I think, because I struggle with this too. I mean, we all do. It's like, you are genuinely like, if a friend of mine books something, I'm more happy that the friend books it than somebody that I don't know.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, you go, but yeah, it's like, how do you separate the accepting that it has nothing to do with you or your talent as to why you're not booking something, and I can imagine that it's just, you've been doing this for so long, so I can't imagine like the fluctuation for you with that, because I know that me at 26, sometimes I just like I'm just like, I feel like such a failure, and then you take the step back and you're like, oh my God, look at how much that I'm accomplishing and how much that I'm doing, and only because I'm deciding to continue. I'm deciding to move forward, and like, I'm so lucky that you had time to do this. You know what I mean? Because I feel like getting a hold of you ever is like the hardest thing ever. Like,
no,
it is literally like, it's like, we'll invite you to a party and be like, is Lucky coming? All right, he's coming at like 2 a.m. Gotcha.
Well, because nightclub gigs happen late.
I know. But I'm sleeping by 2 a.m. most of the time. So I'm like, oh, well, tell Lucky I say hi. That's great. So I'm lucky that you're here. So let's talk about what inspired you to write and produce and make the book of The Pink Elephant.
We, right now, are living in a really dark, carnivorous, hungry, unstable time. People are proud to show their ugly inside. People are forgetting that love unites us. People are forgetting that we all are human. We all bleed red. And it's this step back into the ugly past moments that created a voice inside me that said, I need to reach out to people to remind them, no, this is wrong. Um, I teach children. Children are honest, children are open, children are beautiful, but more than anything, children don't have the baggage of past experiences to color or taint or give them a prejudice. So, okay, let's write something that's speaking to them to teach them that, that friend sitting next to you that comes from a different place may have something beautiful to teach you. That person over there that doesn't look like you, that person might have something awesome that you never knew about. And likewise, you yourself have something beautiful that you can share with someone else, but only if you're open enough to do it. If you're open enough to just say, hey, how you doing? Hello. And from there, while writing it, I realized, what? Even though adults can be callous, even though adults can have baggage, if they have that moment, and this is a moment that I always equate with when I'm doing street performance, the moment in where a total stranger becomes that 12-year-old again. And it's that moment where they've gone from looking at their phone, they've gone from like chit-chatting with a friend, drinking their drink or whatever, and it's a little smile that happens on the side of their mouth and like an open eye, and then you realize, oh, it's your inner child. Your inner child is showing. So The Legend of the Pink Elephant was not only me speaking to children, but speaking to the children inside adults to remind them of how free it was when you were just playing on the playground and you didn't have the thought in your head of maybe I shouldn't play with that person, or that person looks weird, or this is happening over here.
So, what do you have a specific moment where you were like, this is what inspired me to write it, or you think just like waking up as a whole in recent years? And
there are many moments in my life that black, gay, Haitian, chubby, so many things, in where it's like you have an eye of differentness put upon you, and with that you feel that weight of trying to fit in, trying to do whatever you can to try to, don't look at this thing that I'm not proud of, look at this. So I became a class clown. I realized that by making people laugh at me, then you won't look at my chubbiness, or you won't look at the off hand that's a little limp. You won't look at the fact that sometimes there's a little word that comes out that's like, what? Or as I was told growing up in middle school, why you talk so white? Which is a thing that black people can do, because you're not falling in line with the hip hop narrative that all black people are supposed to fall in. Like, if you don't play basketball or football, you're a rapper, and if not, then you're odd or different.
Yeah. So, what is the legend of the pink elephant?
The Legend of the Pink Elephant,
which started off as a theater performance,
circus theater musical, and it started in 2016. It has a cast of 7 that plays over 15 different roles. It has 3-foot stilts people that break dance on them dressed as elephants. It has giant lizards on jump stilts that fly through the air. It has lemurs that talk smack while doing aerial routines and throwing shade at one another. But all of it all is a story about an elephant that was born different. He was born with pink skin. He tried to cover up his pink skin with clay from the river. One time there was a rain. The thing that he tried to hide was revealed, and the shame that he felt from it, the ridicule, the fact that he was bullied because he looked different, made him run away from his home. While he ran away from his home, there were many eclectic, interesting, beautiful, wild creatures and characters that he got to meet that all loved the fact that what they were looking at was something different. And he understood from them that different is not a crime, it's just different. In addition to that, he discovered that nature loves diversity, and in addition to that, nature loves diversity, like there is no such thing as normal. And after that journey, he comes home. He comes home to his herd to discover that they're being hunted by humans. So here comes the second message of the show: save the elephant. Every day, something like 96 elephants are killed. By next year, 2020, if we don't stop this, there'll be something like only 150 elephants left.
That's insane.
So,
That's crazy.
yeah, the show has many levels of messages, but more than anything, it's about embracing difference, embracing the difference in you, embracing the difference in your neighbor, and just loving everyone for the different that they're bringing, and realize that that adds, not subtracts from the beauty of living.
So, what was it like writing that story, putting that story on paper for you?
That was beautiful. It was fun because it was like
Tell me about the process of that.
whenever I started writing, you go into an almost childlike state because I am speaking to children, but I am speaking to adults at the same time. So being able to get to a state in where you're almost just in between child and adult, and then the words come out, and then you discover, wait, I can write music too because it's a musical that I wrote the lyrics to, I came up with the beats for, and I had a brilliant composer flesh it all out and make the orchestrations for.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And how long was that whole process of just the writing process of it?
The writing
How long did
process
that take you?
was
How many drafts
about
did you have?
4.5 months. And then after a number of revisions, I would say altogether 5. Yeah, so 5 months. And then it was about 3 months of training actors into circus because I needed storytellers. I mean, at first I did have a phenomenal aerialist from France that was going to come and do all this stuff, but after fleshing out the story, I realized I don't need a circus person that can say some lines. I need an actor that can do some circus because the storytelling is
the most
richer.
important.
It's the spine of the show. It's what is the thing that's going to reach out to that stranger and bring them in and make that moment of now we are forever bonded.
So did you start writing the play knowing that you wanted to produce it, or did you start writing it as like an exercise for yourself, or?
I thankfully had people come to me and say, hey, we have some space in our season at the theater, and what do you want to do with it? I could do something. Do you think you could do a show? Can it be in the parameters of this? What do you think about bullying? Okay, I have something I've been working on.
Nice, nice. And then, how has it been like what now that it's been running? I know it's had really successful runs. Are you so you are the main elephant? Or you were in the original
Ipso
cast?
facto. Like we had, I casted someone, and about a month before we opened, they pulled out, so I had to step into the role.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So originally you weren't gonna play
No.
the
No.
Jumba?
I was not going to play Jamba originally because I wanted to just be director, choreographer, sit back and just steer the ship from there. But once that happened, I realized I had to step in, and then after doing it, it's like, this is kind of your story, so be the pink elephant.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so it. Why not? You
Mm-hmm.
know, have you? So you've had two reincarnations of the play since the first.
Yes, it's
And-
altogether 3 shows.
Yes.
Runs.
Has it always been the same cast?
No.
How has that been? Because especially when you do a show and when it's your show and you're still directing, how is it with the different dynamics? Because every time you have to build a different dynamic with your same words and your same intentions.
That's a very interesting question because every actor brings in their own hot sauce. So it's like you have the frame, you have the story, you have where the characters need to go, you have the choices that the first cast made that really worked for that show, and then you throw that all out and you pay attention to what your actors are giving you with that cast, and you try some of the old things. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but more than anything, you're listening to the now of what you have to, okay, that person was played by a male, now it's being played by a female. That person...
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like we've had, let me see, the first cast, we had 3 males, 3 females, and myself.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next cast, we had mostly female, and me, myself as Jamba, and then Zach was the other male, and then this one just now was again mostly female and 2 male cast.
That's awesome. And yeah, it's interesting because do you find that the story grows with
Absolutely.
each run?
And as a director, you have to steer the boat. You have to know the framework. You have to keep people coloring within the lines. However, you have to be open enough to feel what they're giving you, to see a nuance, to understand, oh, that may have worked this way for that person, but look at what this person is doing. Oh my goodness, I didn't even think of that line that way. All right, say it this way. Oh my goodness, we both just discovered something that's awesome together.
Yeah.
Do that.
Do you find that it's like that you've adjusted things to it? Like, have you wanted to go back to the writing board and like have you rewritten scenes or anything?
Not rewritten scenes, but they're okay. So the last show we did was for Atlanta Fringe Festival. Mm-hmm. The Fringe Festivals have a time stipulation of you have to do it in under 50 minutes, and if you go over, you get penalized. Say it again.
This includes setup and everything.
50 minutes from the start of the show to the end of the show, and then you have 30 minutes in between to basically break the set down and do all of that. Thankfully, the show travels very easily. So the show originally is about an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and 20 minutes. So for the Fringe Festival, we had to shave off a lot. In addition to that, the Fringe Festival had a lot of comedians, a lot of adult themed things. So we saw that the audience that was coming was, okay, some kids, but mostly adult audience members. So I wouldn't say that the lines changed, but some intentions changed to bring out a lot of the writing had like a double entendre or another way of saying it. They leaned in on not the adult way to say, how can I say it? Like one of the jokes from the show, from one of the characters, Henry Morton Stanley, which is a character that is written to be a woman playing a man, was played by the phenomenal Malia Kakia Nicolini. I had to say the whole name, you know. And the way that she did it at this stage theater in Miami is not how she did it there. And it was all on the discovery of saying a line a new way and then adding a little twist to it. And it just made the line soar. The audience reaction was, oh my God. Like, insane.
That's awesome. What's next for the Pink Elephant? What do you so how did you decide to make it into a children's book? So you made the
Actually, that was Zoe's grandmother, Phyllis. She said, you know what, this needs to be a children's book. At the end of the first time that she saw the show, so during our first run, and in between the end of the first run is when I started the book. End of the second run is when I finished it. So in between the first two runs, the book was being created because Phyllis was like, yo, you need to do that. And now she's like, you know what you need now? The soundtrack next to it. So I'm like, working on it.
That's great. Yeah, no, that's great. Phyllis is the grandmother of one of our students. So
and the mother of a very special person to us named Naomi.
Yeah. And so it's so meaningful. I think people, when people give feedback like that.
Yes.
You know, it's so it's
because
inspiring,
it's like,
and it also is just
you
like,
got it. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, you're kind of right. It would be easier to get the message to people if it's something that they could just access on Amazon and just get the book, you know?
Yeah. And so how did you also came up, so you adapted it into a children's book,
yes.
And also did you do the illustrations for it?
The illustrations were by a phenomenal woman by the name of Anna Trelogden, whose birthday it is today.
Oh,
happy birthday, Anna. And I was introduced to her from a circus friend of mine. Her name is Susan. His name is Nick. I was talking about writing the book at the time, but I don't know an artist that can illustrate. And he's like, I know somebody. And then we introduced each other.
This is history.
I sent her video of the show. She fell in love with it, and she just sketched from the show what she saw. And then from there, that's how we turned it into a book.
That's awesome. That's
She's awesome.
awesome.
She's
And
amazing.
you designed the costumes for that as well.
Yes.
Did you make the costumes?
Me, my friend Roger, and the seamstress goddess Alba were a team together that all put it out there.
That's amazing. Those costumes are so elaborate. They're
Thank
huge,
you.
and they're also like for stilts, so they're ginormous.
Yeah.
And they're heavy, and they're just like, hey, they look
They
beautiful.
look heavy, but thankfully they are light, because when you're doing a headstand with 3-foot stilts on, you need to be as light as possible.
Yeah. He's superhuman. So the information to how to buy the book and any other links will be on the We're So Young podcast Meet Our
Ooh,
Guest
fabulous.
page.
Mm-hmm.
But just for the listeners who are in their cars right now and just want to hear it, where can they get a copy of your book?
The Legend of the Pink Elephant by Luckner Bruno Jr. is available on Amazon.
So you just search up The Legend of the Pink Elephant and make sure it's by Luckner Bruno Jr.
It's the first thing that'll pull up when you go
Yeah.
to children's book and go to The Legend of the Pink Elephant. Bam, it's right there.
Perfect. And what's next for the show, for the book, for
Well, now I
Soundtrack.
have a brilliant. I'm working on it. Goodness. I am working on a website so that we can get the show to more Fringe Festival. I should say I have a brilliant intern named Willa working on a website.
You do have a
for
brilliant
me.
intern named Willa.
Bro,
She's
like,
so good.
and she was just happy just to do it because she saw the show, and she was one of those people that also was like, I believe in this, soundtrack wise. Like, she was one of the first people to read the proof copy of the book because I wanted a child's view from like how it's read and stuff.
Right.
And she, and that's why she's doing it for me that way.
Yeah.
Trying to get to more Fringe festivals, more festivals around the world. So taking the show on a global tour, how many places can we take it and perhaps translate it? How many cast members can we pick up to teach stilts and add to the opening number? So wanting to travel and grow it to even bigger. My dream is to be able to do it with at least 15 more people and a full African orchestra live, like full musicians.
so
Like
cool.
it would be amazing.
That'd be so cool. You know what's interesting? Now that we brought up Willa, just taking that back a little bit, the fact that we both. So if you haven't gathered this, we both teach.
We are teaching artists.
We are teaching artists, and we both happen to work for one of the same companies, and we have students that continue to come back and love to be taught by us, as per our surveys that we did today. And it's just incredible to see kids grow up, kids that are not ours, hallelujah, grow up and kind of find their niche through us.
Yes.
Not that I'm trying to toot our horn saying that we're the whole reason, but
No, like you've seen like a bunch of introverted kids that don't have friends that first week, or don't engage, or sit in a corner with their little tablet, or with their imaginary friend, and you just are like, okay, what's happening? And then to see them over time become this, not extrovert, but I not only love sharing who I am, now
Yeah.
I gracefully share that. I share that, and I know how to take that in for other people. And
yeah, slowly becoming, comfortable in their own skin. And somebody like our intern Willa has actually been with us for as long as we've been in this company, which
Yeah.
has been, 7-8 years. So it's really cool to be able to experience that. And I think it's awesome that you're giving her the opportunity to be a part of something that's so big, you know what I mean? It's something that everybody needs to read and to know about, but it in itself is such a gift of a story, and it's so great that you're opening yourself up to people, helping people that are the future and are the seeds, to share the story, to help you share this story. I think
it's
that's
one of the
amazing.
things I love about teaching. Kids keep you real. Kids keep you grounded.
Yeah.
Kids are always honest with you, so as soon as your head gets too big, it's like, you.
It's true. What do you think you would have told little Lucky, little 7-year-old Lucky, about how your life was going to be. If you could.
You have no idea. You just don't. Like anything you could imagine or think to come up with has nothing to do with your actual reality. And your actual reality to most will seem like fantasy, but it is not at all exaggerated, over top. This is your existence, and wow, get ready.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
So, what's something new that you've tried recently?
And want to do more of sear wheel.
What is that?
Sear wheel. Okay.
Oh my God.
Now imagine a giant ring, and you're like standing in an X.
Oh, I've seen
and
that.
you have to do about 150 cartwheels on the floor, and then once you get enough momentum going, then you start to play with that shape, and like you turn your head one way, and then you're able to do something else. I want to play with that way more.
You've already started doing that?
I had like 2 classes.
Where do you find these classes? Like, these are just.
I got friends, girl. I call people. I'm like, hey, let me use your thing.
Jeez, like, it's just like, what do you do? You take a little flyer sticker from Starbucks? Like, what do you find? Where do you find these classes? It's just like, and you like breathe fire at the same time, like.
Yeah.
You do. I know.
Got fire whips. Got all kinds of different
so
things
cool.
that I like to. I love fire dancing too.
Yeah.
Fire is like making love when you dance with it. There's a sound. It breathes. It plays.
Yeah.
And if you don't treat it right, it will burn you.
Yeah. So what's something new you want to try?
Oh, I'm actually going to get an opportunity to try something new, because in November I'm going to be dancing with a dance company that I haven't danced with for years. Dance is Zeus, which I danced with in my 20s. I'm going to be doing a dance film. And this will be my first time in a dance film, in where it's like, and it's not like a music video. I've done that before. It's not like being on a dance stage. It's a movie in where dance is the primary vehicle of storytelling. So, and what we're going to be talking about, the subject matter of the Middle Passage, the subject matter of race relations in this country. Like, I'm going to be utilized as a dancer and somewhat co-choreographer, because they want to use my aerial ability and my ability of storytelling to pitch out some of the more toothier things. Like there's the idea of this piece, and where dangling above and making an aerial silk thing look like a noose around the neck, like the piece and just the title alone gives you the tone of where we're going, the Dangling Negro Circus, which is
Wow.
Yeah, it's basically 3 lynched characters that come back to life, and they're wisecracking each other on why their death makes them more important than the other one. So yeah, like I'm trying to get back into ballet classes. I'm trying to get my technique back together, because it's like, ooh, film. You mean if I do a messed up leg, that's going to be on that film forever?
Yeah.
All right, I can't do that. All right, I got to get back to
Film
class.
is tough because of that, because it's just like, it is highlighted in your face, and now it's HD.
Yes. So there's no like, I just flub my leg this way. I just, turn out. I don't need to be on full releve for that. No. They will see you faking.
Yeah. And they will know.
Yes, they will
you,
know.
You can fool me all you want, look. You can fool me. You can tell me you're 23. I'll be like, okay, that's lucky.
I hang upside down a lot, and I know my best friend is shea butter.
So, thank you so much for doing this episode.
This
Thank
is
you
fun, darling.
Thank you for taking out the time. Once again, if you want to purchase The Legend of the Pink Elephant, it is available on Amazon. It'll also be available. The link will be on the We're So Young podcast Meet Our Guest blog page, as well as the description of the episode. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks again for listening to the We're So Young podcast. Like what you've been hearing? help spread the word. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Rate, review, and tell your friends about We're So Young. And don't forget to follow us on our socials, at We're So Young Podcast on Instagram, at We're So Young Pod on Twitter, and We're So Young Podcast on Facebook. Let's all get inspired to try new things together. That's it for now. Tune in on the 1st and the 15th of each month for new episodes. Until then, step out of your comfort zones and try new things, because we're so young.